Today I'll be telling you guys about Matterhorn, the 14,691-foot mountain that is a very prominent tourist destination that straddles the Swiss and Italian border. The mountain is very unique in composition. Like parts of upstate New York, the top of Matterhorn is made of gneiss, while the bottom two-thirds is mostly made out of gabbro and basalt. This division in the mountain is due to how it was created. The Alps were created when Pangaea broke apart into Gondwanaland and Laurasia during the Cretaceous period. During the breakup, the Apulian Plate broke away from northeast Africa and moved through the newly made Tethys Ocean towards Laurasia, eventually colliding with it and creating the Alps. That is why the first 11,150 feet of the mountain is made of ocean crust, while the top 3,541 feet is made of African gneiss, which makes some say Matterhorn is an African mountain, even though it is in the middle of Europe. This is only half the story of how Matterhorn was created. Next, I will tell you about how Matterhorn got its distinct pyramidal peak with its four steep faces. When Matterhorn first formed, it looked similar to a large round mountain like the one shown. It only received its steep slopes through glacial erosion. Due to its elevation, Matterhorn's peak has snow and ice on it year-round. The steep slopes are formed by the freezing and thawing of ice, which would expand inside the rock and fracture it, creating four cirques, which are bowl-like formations that often form at the base of mountains, which are subject to glacial erosion like Matterhorn is. The pyramidal peak, which Matterhorn is famous for, is unfortunately more popular than people think. For example, Mount Everest, some of the Teton Mountains, and Crested Butte in Colorado all have pyramidal peaks as well. While Matterhorn's steep slopes may be cool to look at, they are very dangerous to climb. The first party of climbers, led by Edward Whymper, to ever summit in 1861, unfortunately had some fatalities, as 4 of the 7 members fell to their deaths descending after they had summited the mountain. 100 years later, in 1980, it was estimated that 500 climbers had died trying to summit the mountain since Edward Whymper's first successful attempt in 1861. Even with modern climbing equipment today, dangers still exist, like inexperience, falling rocks, and overcrowded routes. Still, despite the danger that 12 climbers a year die on the mountain, climbers still try to summit and get the incredible views. However, it is understandable why Matterhorn is still climbed despite the risk. When you consider its proximity to Zermatt and how it is easily accessible because of its proximity, and the fact that the mountain is able to be climbed year-round, it makes sense as to why the mountain is still attractive to climbers. However, climbers might not be climbing for much longer. Earlier this month, goat herders discovered fractures in the mountain big enough to fit a cow inside. Geologists have determined that this is a sign of the mountain's instability and that there's a hollow chamber inside the mountain. Geologists are predicting that the mountain will collapse on itself within the next 1,000 years, as superficial cracks have already begun to show around the mountain. It is believed that this is due to global warming, since now the thawing period on the mountain is much greater, causing much more glacial erosion.